Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about ISTPs and compassion. So I want to start by saying that I think compassion is hugely important. On a macro scale, it's necessary for world peace. Micro, it's necessary for any healthy relationship. It's necessary for good communication, for working together. It helps bring people together, and when people come together, we can actually begin to use each other's strengths and accomplish great things in every area of our life. So when I think of compassion, there are two aspects of it that work together, and it's love and empathy. And when I'm talking about love, I'm not talking about romantic love or the way a really social person might say, oh, I love being with people, or a self-love in which you are the object of your love and other people are just a means for increasing your happiness and pleasure in life. I'm talking about a sacrificial, selfless love which values other people simply because they're human. And this is actually hard for every personality type to achieve, but it's possible for every personality type to develop this. And empathy is the ability to understand another person's emotions. And this is where I think the ISTP struggles more than most personality types. But again, this is something that anybody is capable of having. So, two reasons why ISTPs struggle with empathy. The first is because ISTPs have dominant introverted thinking and inferior extroverted feeling. So when the ISTP naturally is focusing on introverted thinking, so like facts and logic and accuracy, they can become completely oblivious to extroverted feeling. So how the people around them are feeling or how people are receiving what they're saying. And this can just lead to really insensitive and poorly timed communication from the ISTP. But the reality is that all functions are very important, and so if an ISTP wants to be a healthy version of themselves, they do need to work on correcting this imbalance of TI and FE. So second reason why ISTPs struggle with empathy is that ISTPs tend to have an unusually bad emotional memory. And this is again because of inferior extroverted feeling. And so an ISTP might experience just as many emotions as the next person does, but they experience them a bit more subconsciously. So an ISTP has a harder time noticing their emotions and understanding their emotions. And so say an ISTP is really upset about something, as soon as they get over it or something shifts in their mind, they can completely flip, go from being upset to feeling totally fine. And within 20 minutes, they might have completely forgotten that they were even upset. The memory of the emotion is lost in their memory. And so this makes empathy really difficult because when an ISTP isn't experiencing an emotion, that emotion doesn't even seem real. It's nothing more than a word or a concept to them. So I want to give you some examples from my own life as an ISTP of times that I have seen this play out. So I'll start with introverted thinking, a focus on that, making you oblivious to extroverted feeling. So I have a sister who is possibly an ENFP, I'm not actually sure, but she's interested in her personality type and understanding that, but she hasn't studied Myers-Briggs nearly as much as I have. And so there's been many times where she's made statements about her personality type that weren't completely accurate or consistent. And my immediate reaction is to correct all the inaccurate things that she said. And because I'm so focused on the TI aspect of the conversation, I am completely missing the FE side of the conversation. So she's over here trying to communicate a deeper emotional truth about how she views herself and her identity, and I am busy fixing the technical errors in what she's saying. And so this can just cause me to come off as being like rude or arrogant or just really uncompassionate. And so in order to fix this, I have to first realize that I will naturally always view introverted thinking as being the most important aspect of a conversation, because that's where I'm at. So I have to be willing to set that aside and focus and kind of live in extroverted feeling for a little bit. So I have to be okay with a lack of accuracy and a lack of clean logic, and I just have to work on trying to understand what she is trying to express, what deeper emotional truths she's trying to express about herself. And so I have to be willing to not expect her to live up to my TI requirements for accuracy. So the second reason was because ISTPs are bad with emotional memory. And so when I was in high school, I had a lot of friends that would complain about being stressed all the time. And I didn't have any serious life issues, but I'm a normal human and I'd experienced plenty of stress or anxiety in my life before. And yet, when my friends would tell me they were stressed, I had zero compassion for them. And it wasn't that I was rude or mean to them, but the word stress carried zero emotional meaning. It was nothing more than just a word that people were throwing around. And again, this wasn't because I hadn't experienced stress, it was because I had a bad emotional memory. And it wasn't until one day I was feeling really, really stressed, and I kind of took a step back and I thought about it and I put a name to my emotion. I was like, oh, like this is stress. And I had this huge realization, is like, this is the emotion that all my friends have been talking about. And it was like kind of shocking to me. It was like, oh, this is how it feels when people are talking about that. It was like, it didn't seem real until I was actually experiencing it. And then I was able to understand. And that was a huge first step for me in developing empathy. So I've noticed on a lot of forums or comment sections that there's many ISTPs out there that seem to take pride in their lack of sensitivity to other people, or their just complete lack of care about anyone's emotions. And this just does not make any sense to me, because this is just a marker of immaturity. The reality is ISTPs are perfectly capable of compassion and empathy, but it just requires a little more work and maturity for them to achieve it. And so I would just encourage all ISTPs to really focus on developing empathy. Start by noticing when your focus on TI is making you oblivious to the FE aspects of situations, and start noticing when you're having different emotions. Really try to step back, name your emotion, observe what it feels like, notice how it's impacting you and it's impacting your life. And then when you hear someone else having issues, actually stop and try to think about a time where you felt similarly. And allow yourself to step back into the memory of that experience and try to relive what that emotion felt like. And that's not always easy to do at first, but I think with practice and developing that habit of thinking that way, you'll actually find that you're capable of being a very empathetic and compassionate person, if you do care about people and if you do have any love for other humans. So now an ISTP who's feeling compassion will not express that in the same way that an ENFJ with dominant extroverted feeling would. The reality is that ISTPs do have inferior extroverted feeling, and that also makes it really difficult for us to communicate anything relating to emotions at all. And so learning to communicate compassion in a way that is understood by other people is a journey in and of itself. But learning to be empathetic is a huge first step. And so I just want to encourage every ISTP out there to strive for this, because you do have a lot of gifts that you can use to help improve the world around you. But if you don't have compassion and you don't learn empathy, you'll end up using your introverted thinking recklessly and causing a lot more damage than good. So that's all I've got. Thank you for stopping by and listening, and I'd really appreciate if you left a comment and let me know what you think.